Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Let's implement another robot. It's going to be for authentication robot. And the robot creates a new class. Let's call it authentication robot. Let's implement the function that's going to allow us to check if the user has logged in. Now we have to look for the toolbar login button and to click on it. Next, we're going to switch the window from the main window to the login window. How to do so? We're going to do that actually in the end-to-end test. Therefore, let's add here an action that's going to be called onSwitch to auth access window, and another action after the user has successfully authenticated or the window has been closed, we have to switch back to the main window. Now we have to call onSwitch to auth window. Next, we have to insert the email and password. Here we have to use the mock data and correct email, mock data and correct password. Next, we have to get the login button, which is a progress button, and we have to perform click. Let's keep it simple here and do the same thing without storing the button in a variable. Now we must have the progress indicator. After, let's say 2 seconds or 3 seconds, going to switch back to the main window. After switching back to the main window, we need to make sure if the user menu exists. And this is going to be basically the results of our function. Check if UI constant user menu button. I'm going to follow basically the same logic once the user has registered to check if the user has registered successfully. And we have to insert the email, password, and password confirmation. Let's arrange those beforehand. And let's insert the name, email, password, and password confirmation. Now, before inserting those fields, we have to switch to the register form. Let's look for this button using the automation ID, login form register now button. And we have to click. Let's wait for 1 second for the animation to finish. Next, we have to insert the email, name, password, and password confirmation. And we have to look for the register progress button. It is identified using the automation ID register form register button. And we have to click on it. Let's wait for 2 seconds. Next, we have to look for the warning message. And for the result of this particular function, we need to make sure that the content of the warning message matches the message text registered. By using the string comparison, warning message and text, the string resource, and you have to pass in the placeholder the name of the newly created user. Ordinal ignore case. I would like to come back to the warning message because we have set earlier this value. It is a little bit overkill. This default value, let's set it to 100 milliseconds or just 0. All right. And of course, in the other section of our application, under product search results screen, we have set it to 3.5 seconds. I think that's pretty much it. Let's rebuild the application. We're going to add another function. We're going to use this actually when we're going to navigate to the wishlist manager screen. That's going to allow our end-to-end test to click on user menu. I'm going to mark it as internal. Click on user menu. First of all, let's wait for half a second for the menu to appear. Next, we have to look for the user menu identified by the automation ID user menu button. And we have to click on it. And let's wait for half a second for the UI to settle. We need actually another function to allow the end-to-end test or the robot to switch to dark theme. In my opinion, I think all of the other functions should be internal for that matter. First things first, let's look for the toggle button identified using the automation ID theme toggle. Next, we have to look for the attribute help text to check if we have under dark theme or light theme. Next, we need to compare the attribute label switch to dark theme to either label to dark theme or light theme. We are interested in dark theme, therefore have to compare this value to the string resource label switch to dark theme. As the first argument, label switch to dark theme. As the second argument, it's the string resource label switch to dark theme. If this string comparison fails, we have to return false. Next, we're going to click on the toggle button and let's wait for 1 second for the animation to finish. And we have to look for, once again, the attribute help text and we have to store it under another variable. Let's call it label switch to light theme. And we have to make the same comparison and it's going to be the result of our function. We have to compare label switch to light theme to the string resource label switch to light theme. And we have to ignore case. I think that's pretty much it. Now we have to implement another internal function for the logout case. As usual, we have to look for the menu item. Let's come back to the user menu and let's add the accessibility identifier. And let's go to the UI constant. Let's add it here. Let's come back to the user menu and let's use it. Build the entire project. Instead, it should be logout menu item. And we have to click on it. Let's wait for 2 seconds. After, let's switch menu. Let's add the action here. And now for the assertion, and we have to return basically that this user menu does not exist. Let's name the function user has logged out. And to be 100% sure, we need to check the existence of this particular toolbar. Check if exists, and this one does not exist, has logged out. Now let's start implementing the scenarios. Beforehand, we have to rebuild the entire solution. Under end-to-end test, create a new class. Let's call it authentication end-to-end test. Now for the first test, we need to make sure that the user should be able to log in when providing correct credentials. I'm gonna do the same thing that we have done earlier. Launch the application, wait for the splash screen to disappear, and switch to the last main window. Next, we have to call authentication robot, and user has logged in. Now we have to override the actions. Afterward, we have to do should be true. Now for the first action, to switch to the auth access window, for this particular action, we have to switch to the window by title. The title is basically from the UI constant and auth access. And for the other one, which is application name, let's check under auth access that we have correctly set the title. All right, that's pretty much it for this test. Let's run the test. So far, so good. Very nice. Test passed. Now for the other case, the user should be able to register. And we have to use the authentication robot, and we have to call user has registered and should be true. We have to override basically this particular callback. Going to switch to window by title, UI constant, and auth access. That's all. Let's run the test. All right, very nice. Now for the last scenario, we're going to check if the user can log out. And we have to do auth robot and user has logged out should be true. On switch to main auth access, it should be instead on switch to, we have to rename this actually. It has to be on switch to main window. Let's switch to the main window by title as we have done here. And that's it. Let's run the test. Of course, it's gonna fail. We have to log in and log out. That's the wrong thing to do. Let's close the preview. Let's close the test. We have to stop the test actually. I'm gonna copy the same thing that we have done here. Then log out. All right, let's run the test. Oh my God, that's completely wrong again. We have to add a function to open the user menu. It's gonna fail. Before this, we have to do authentication robot and click on user menu. All right, incomplete test. And the test passed. Very nice. We have done a good job. Now the last robot, which is the wishlist robot. Before moving forward, I'm going to change the visibility for all those robots to internal. All right, let's come back to the internal class wishlist robot. The first function, we have to show the end-to-end test how to delete the products from the authenticated user wishlist. First things first, the target wishlist ID from the mock data. Now we have to look for the wishlist manager menu item, and we have to click on it. Let's wait for 2 seconds, and let's wait for the progress indicator to disappear. Let's perform a small scroll. Now we have to look for the item wishlist under the screen. It's identified by the automation ID wishlist item delete button. Afterward, we have to click on it and wait for a while. Basically, we're going to wait for the dialog to appear. Now we have to look for the confirm dialog progress button, delete, identified by automation ID dialog confirm button. Next, we have to click on it and wait for 2 seconds. I don't think that we need actually this to be stored. Let's wait for 2 seconds for the UI to settle, or let's do 2.5. Now for the result of this function, we have to check for the non-existence of the item under the list by doing return. If exists, the opposite of this function, and we have to pass the target element, the target ID. If the button does not exist, we can say that there is no such element and the element has been deleted. Now under the home screen, we would like to see if the user can add or remove the products from wishlist. Let's arrange the product to be deleted, arrange the first product under mock data. Now we have to look for this particular element. I'm going to copy this. Instead, it should be product ID 2, for example. Now, if this element does not exist, let's throw an exception, no such element exception. Now, let's hover over the element product UI element and wait for half second to wait for the button to appear. Now we have to look for the toggle button identified by product preview toggle button wishlist, and we have to pass the product ID as an argument. Let's store it under a variable of type iWeb elements, which is nullable, toggle wishlist button. We have to use the function try get UI element, and we have to look for this particular element by the automation ID product preview toggle wishlist button using string format. And we have to pass here the product ID. If this element is not found, we're gonna throw an exception, no such element exception. And let's arrange the value in wishlist under the toggle button, which is the attribute help text. Now we have to make the comparison between in wishlist status and the string resource label removed from wishlist. If those values are not equal, we have to return false. Now let's click on the toggle wishlist button. Let's wait for 1 second for the animation and the UI to settle, and let's make the same comparison. Let's change the value of this and let's make the comparison. Now it has to be between the new value under in wishlist status and the string resource label added to wishlist. If you do remember, under the user's wishlist, the first product is added to the wishlist. Afterward, let's click on this button once again. And let's wait for 1 second and let's make again the comparison. Now it should be label removed from wishlist. I think that we're going to stop here. For the next video, we're going to implement the remaining scenarios for our application. See you in the next video and happy coding.